And if you're not asking a question, please put yourself on mute. I am awaiting hands. All right, shotgun.
Morning, Donte. I had some player personnel questions. Do you expect Brew to rejoin the team at any point this season?
Status hasn't changed yet. I have no new updates on that situation.
What about Keenan Kristen? What's his status since he hasn't been with the team for 2.5 weeks?
The same. Status hasn't changed. No new updates on that situation.
Are Frank Martin and Meninoa still on the team? Because we haven't seen them basically all year.
Both of them are handling academic applications right now.
And then Solomon Tuliaupupu, we didn't see him much this week after he didn't dress on Saturday. Did he suffer a setback with the knee?
He's had little, nicks and beat up some bruises, and just making sure we take care of him.
Tugni?
Donte, good morning. I was wondering if you have an update on Jackson Dart and how he's doing.
To answer the question, I know everybody, wants to ask about a quarterback situation. There's no new updates right there. We'll all find out on Saturday at the game.
Saturday at the game is your first home coaching debut as the interim. What does that mean to you as an LA guy to be the head coach of USC in the Coliseum?
It means a lot, but, most importantly, it means a lot to this team. Just for us to come back home, the last time we was at home, didn't go so well. So it's about going out there and showing our fans and showing our community, just who we really are, and just going out there and fight, especially it's another night game against another good team. And, we just ready to make sure that we go 1-0 that particular day.
Adam Grossbard.
Hey, Donte. First 3 weeks have been up and down and up for this team, and that's kind of been a pattern for the program the last few years. What are you trying to do to try to make sure you get like a consistent week-to-week performance out of the team?
You know what? That's a great question, because our biggest thing is making sure we're consistent. And that's why, my approach has been one day at a time or one play at a time. When you start focusing too much on the future or too much on the past, that's when all of a sudden that inconsistency starts. And, it's about me even being consistent about everything I do. You can't let one little thing get by. If all of a sudden one day, one thing is really big to me and then the next is not such a big deal, then that's the same with the player. So being consistent. So I have to be the same person every day. Something I'm a stickler about, I have to continue to be a stickler about, and I'll get the same results. I mean, you all got a chance to see this week's of practice. And when you get a chance to see, you all tell me what you saw. But, for me, I saw an energetic bunch and a guys that's, hungry and waiting to play football.
Ryan Young.
Donte, growing up so close to the Coliseum, do you have any good early memories of going to games there?
You know what? I kind of said it before, but, my fond memories at the Coliseum is, I used to play Pop Warner football at Baldwin Hills, and, and we had the King Conference back then. So they'll always give each team a free ticket to a game like once a year. So that was like my fond memory of going to the game with like my Pop Warner teammates and, we're cheering and everything else. And that was really my fondest memory.
And then you've talked about the mentors you've heard from this week, but how about the local response? You got guys you grew up with, friends. How many people have texted you or called you since everything happened?
You know what? It's crazy to say, but I still have about 500 unread text messages. So, I feel kind of like the a-hole, because some people are probably like, dang, why hasn't he got back? But I mean, I literally have probably over 1,500 text messages. So it's like right when you just start getting through a couple, I have so many other things that are really, really important right now and pressing at this issue. Number one, this team. Number two, this staff. So, I have to make sure those things are handled first before sometimes I can get back, which sucks because, I want to get back to everyone, especially, everyone that's rooting for us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Shotgun.
Donte, what happened with Jalen McKenzie this week? He was getting some first team reps and he was taken out of practice. We didn't really see him yesterday in the time we were there.
Well, that particular day in practice, it was extremely hot. So a little dehydration and, just had to take him for an IV and stuff. So we just decided to just hold him for precautionary reasons and, making sure that he's hydrated and everything's right. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha. There's been a few freshmen that have played like one snap at games that maybe could be redshirt candidates. I was wondering what's kind of your strategy with the red shirts as an interim head coach in that 4 games that you're allowed?
You know what? My biggest strategy towards it is if the guys are not going to redshirt and they're freshmen, at least put them on, multiple special teams, right? Just so guys get experience. Because some of these guys, even though they may be thinking that they're going to redshirt this year, maybe guys this season that start 4 or 5 or 6 games. So, just getting them experience right now, making sure they can play on 2 or 3 different special teams. And hopefully, we get to games to where it was like last week where they can play at the end of the game and the majority of the fourth quarter just to get them some experience, because these are guys that's going to be big time players for us. And next year, most likely be the starters. So, you don't want that to be their first moment where they're on the field. So, last week we had 12 true freshmen play in the game, which is big time for a program to have 12 true freshmen play. And, we want to continue that.
Ryan Abraham.
Morning, Donte. Just want to see week 2 of you for the interim head coach. What did you learn from you did in week 1 to now you're doing in week 2?
Things are starting to settle down a little bit. So you start to get a little bit in the routine as far as, what time to get up and what time, you're going to leave the office, and just the day-to-day operations. Especially last week was a lot of change last week as far as the way that we, prepare or do things. This week's kind of a little settled down because this guy's going through it their second time. And, like we spoke on earlier, it's about the consistency. Last week, sometimes things are easy because it's new, it's fresh. So guys are excited. But when it's the second time doing it, sometimes it becomes a grind a little bit. So making these guys are, still well prepared and making sure they're still excited for everything that we're doing.
And then I know after the game, you said the 5 penalties were 5 too many, even though it was better than previous games. We didn't get to see refs out there this week. Was that the plan, or what happened with that?
No, so we wanted refs out there this particular week, and the problem right now, I guess it's a shortage of refs. So they put us on a 1-week hold, and they'll be there next week, which is kind of just, I feel like, like a liar lying to the guys, because I definitely wanted the refs there. So I became a referee for the week, calling flags and stuff, which is different for me when you start telling DBs that they're holding and getting PIs. That was a little different. It kind of hurt my heart.
Antonio.
Hey, Donte. Kalen Bullock was making plays in week 1. Then he had the interception last week, and he's had a good week of practice. What have you seen of his progress so far this season?
Kalen's a guy who's definitely maturing, but, credit at the same time to our weight room staff and our nutritionists, because he showed up here at 156 pounds. And right now, Kalen's 187. So it shows you, the importance of being a mid-year player. And if you take things seriously, what can happen to your body? So, someone who's put on 31 pounds, gotten, extremely stronger, faster, and he's prepared to play right now. He looks the part.
Shotgun.
Donte, going back to being a cornerbacks coach, Jaden Williams is a guy who's kind of shown out the opportunities he's gotten so far this season. Is he a guy that could continue to get more opportunities at the cornerback position? He looked really good in that extended opportunities that he had last week in the quarters.
You know what? We're fortunate enough because we have quite a few guys that are producing at that position right now. And this past week it was a little different with the rotation because we moved Chris inside. He's playing our dime for us the whole game. So, we had a 3-corner rotation on the outside, and those guys played well. So now, with Chris going back outside as a corner, we have 4 guys that have played a lot of football so far this season, and we're going to need all 4. So, I don't see nothing changing as far as it'll be more of a rotation at that position right now, because we have guys that can produce and play just to keep those guys fresh, especially when it comes to the fourth quarter.
And then you kind of turned over the cornerbacks room to Aaron Williams. He's kind of been your right-hand man for the most part. What has he done to help elevate that group without you being there as much?
You know what? He's a guy that I coached in the past. He's been around me, for the last year and a half. So at the same time, he knows how I want things done. He knows how I want things to look. And the guys in that room, they respect him. So you can tell, he just wasn't a person that was just, not talking or not coaching. And, everything comes back, and in spring football, it was probably like the last 2 weeks of spring football. I sat in the back of the room and I let him run the meetings just to progress him as a coach, and just so those guys continue to hear multiple voices. And I interjected when needed, but that right there let me know that he's ready for this moment. Let me know that he can run a meeting, that he can go on the field and actually coach those guys. So I'm really pleased with what he's done so far with them, and I'm really pleased of the progress that they've made.
RJ?
Hey, Donte, I was just curious, going into a game with potentially 2 scholarship quarterbacks available, is that impacting the play calling or the tempo or any of the things that you want to do offensively on Saturday?
No, it definitely has not. I mean, last year we had one quarterback pretty much that you all truly knew about that, can play in Keaton. So I don't think that has changed. I mean, right now we still have, one more than we did last year for the most part. So, nothing has changed. We're still going to play our style of football and make sure we go out there and still do the things that we need to do to succeed. And that doesn't matter if we have 3, 4, or 5.
Thank you.
Ryan Young?
I'm going to come at this more abstractly. What's the psychology of keeping so much mystery around Jackson's situation?
It's not really no mystery. Like I said, we just make sure we protect Jackson from Jackson. And, that's what anybody on our team. So right now, we have Keaton and Miller that practiced yesterday, and I'm happy to talk about those guys, and we'll see, the quarterback situation on Saturday in the game.
Ahmad?
So you'll be facing an Oregon State team that scored 40 points back-to-back games, and they also lead the Pac-12 in total yards. From a defensive standpoint, what are you going to be looking at on Saturday from their offense?
Well, you watch their offense on film, extremely explosive. The offensive coordinator does a good job of calling plays and mixing in different personnels. They use their receivers, their tight ends, their running backs, and they're extremely deep. They have 3 quarterbacks that have started games in this conference. They have multiple running backs they use. They have, 6 to 7 receivers they play, and they always play 2 or 3 tight ends. So extremely deep on the offense side of the ball. They do different things that could create some problems, whether it's motions or shifts and, using pick type plays. So it's more about us being sound, especially with our eyes and the things that we need to do. As long as we play extremely disciplined football, which I know Coach Orlando will have those guys ready to play and be disciplined about the things they do, that, we'll be fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Eric?
Donte, obviously Keaton has a ton of experience there, but what did you see from him bouncing back physically and mentally from this past weekend throughout this week?
You know what? I see somebody that came to practice and they came hungry, as far as, they battled back from, something that's an injury from, the previous game that, probably was a targeting that I should have picked up on a little sooner. And he bounced back from that, and he came out to his practice and he was throwing that ball around. So, I mean, he was taking shots down the field, and, he already has command of the offense, and a lot of guys in this locker room, including myself, believe in him. I mean, he's won a lot of football games here, and he's played and saw a lot of different defenses. So, when I saw somebody who's coming back that's just resumed, their role where they normally are, which is a starting quarterback. And so far this week, he's been able to do that. He's been working with the ones and the second group. So, I look for, really good things from him this coming game.
Ryan Young?
It's obviously a very different matchup for the defense, but what elements from last week's performance do you think are sustainable, and what are the good signs that really can carry over into the future?
I'm sorry, it kind of started beeping out. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, sure. It's obviously a very different matchup this week for your defense, but what signs from last week's performance do you think are sustainable and can really carry over and apply this week?
Some things that, Washington State had very smaller, quicker type slots. And a lot of Oregon State's receivers are on the smaller side and extremely quick and extremely fast. So I think that, for one, would be a carryover. Some of their 11 personnel run game is the same when it comes to the read zone and how they like to pretty much expand and open gaps. And, in the middle of the field, put a linebacker one-on-one with a running back. So I think that would be a little bit of a carryover. And other than that, it's kind of extremely, different, because Washington State, like I said, they're a 10 personnel team. They don't use a tight end. Where Oregon State is, for the majority of the time, they're in 12 personnel. So just that in itself is a little different, to where you got to match up personnel-wise and, probably put some bigger bodies on the field, when last week we had 7 DBs. That, won't happen this particular game.
Good deal. And then going back to all those unread text messages, I'm sure there's some family and friends you have had to get tickets for this week, though. Is there a number that you've had to secure?
Yeah, right now I'm up to 24. So it's pretty high. Let's just say that. And, I'm fortunate enough that my family's been able to handle that situation for me because I darn sure wasn't able to.
Good deal. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, I see no new hands, so we'll call it there. Thank you, Coach Williams. We appreciate it.
You. And appreciate you all for joining. Right on.
Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.